Well, if you're getting started on the guitar, you may be wondering, what is the order of the strings? What are the strings called? How do I identify the strings, and why did they get that way? Why call an A and an E and E? So we will talk about that in great detail in this video. We'll also hear about different types of tunings besides just the standard tuning. The standard is the standard, but there are many other types of tunings as well, and we'll talk about a good bit of those as well. But before we do, if you would like to get a full book of pieces of music that you can play on your guitar, they're great for practice. They're not super hard, and so that way you'll be able to dive right into them. They have both notation and tab. There's 30 pieces, and it's a great collection of fun and charismatic music. So you can find the link for that below. Pick that up, and let's talk about guitar string order. Well, to begin with, let's just talk about the string numbers, because that is going to be universal regardless of how we're actually tuning it. So string 1, it seems like it would be the big fat low string, but it's not, or low sounding string, but it's not. The first string is the highest string. The 6th string is the lowest sounding string. Now that's different than low and high in space, because obviously the first string now is the lowest in space. It's the closest to the floor, right? And the 6th is highest to the ceiling. However, that's not how we talk about it. We talk about it in pitch, low and high pitch. And so this is a higher note, and this is a lower note. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the way that we do this. So the standard tuning, the way that we tune it, is E, A, D, G, B, E. So again, E, A, D, G, B, E. And this is great to remember. And I'll give you a handful of mnemonics, ways to easily memorize this string order so that it's not just an abstract memory, but it's actually something easy to remember. In just a second, I'll give you those. But first, we'll talk about why did it come to be this way? Well, over time, tuning has changed. It's been different things at different times in history. But as of the late 1800s, it's gotten into this basic thing. There was a lot more printing at that time. And also this tuning allows us to play the basic cowboy chords, the G, C, D, just the good old chords that we play so much on the guitar, regardless of what style we're playing, be it rock or classical or folk or any style, it's going to use these basic chord shapes. And the reason is that this standard tuning makes these chord shapes much more accessible for us, much better in the hand. And so that's why it's gotten to be this standard over time. Okay, let's talk about ways to remember E, A, D, G, B, E. So one of my favorites is Eddie Ate Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie. When I was teaching a lot of little boys, they would love this one. And the little girls would oftentimes love Elephants and Dogs Grow Big Ears. That's another popular one. Some of the gentlemen I've worked with enjoyed Every American Dollar Goes Back East. And if you're into a counterculture example, then we have Every Acid Dealer Gets Busted Eventually. That's not exactly true, but it's a way to remember it nonetheless. All right, so memorize that any way that you would like to, but it is great to know on the guitar, string numbers and E, A, D, G, B, E. Well, now let's talk other tunings. So in classical guitar music, the most common other tuning besides standard tuning is the drop D tuning. And for that, we just tune this low E string, the 6th string, we tune it down to a D. And that just gives that, what that means is that we can have low open strings and play in the key of D instead of having it as an E. And so it enables different sounds and a different rich bass. It's a nice low string. Now there are any number of tunings, and for different people, different composers, they may do special tunings that are just for a particular piece of music. And because it enables them to do something that they want to do. But we won't talk about those specific ones. Instead, we'll talk about these more common ones. Now, another tuning that we find in classical guitar music a lot is the Renaissance period tuning, or the lute tuning. And that's where we tune the G string, the third string, down 1/2 step, 1 fret, down to an F sharp. So that's the 4th fret on the 4th string instead of the 5th fret. And so that way we have different shapes in the hand. So for instance, an A, what is normally, it's normally this. Now we play it like a D shape, but moved over one. So that's the Renaissance tuning. Now with these next ones, I won't play them for you, but I'll just tell you about them. So we have the Dad-Gad tuning, D-A-D-G-A-D. This is used in a lot of fingerstyle music and a lot of Celtic music. And so the beauty of this is that the strings sound mostly good just ringing over each other. And so you can just play up and down. And with all the open strings happening, then you can use fewer fretted notes and it just sounds very full and rich. And some other open tunings. Open tunings are just ones that sound pretty good just on the open strings. A lot of different tunings are used for people that play slide guitar. So if you're going to play with the slide, then open tunings are great because you have this slide that's covering the whole thing. So for these open tunings, they typically are called open and then have a chord name. Open D, for instance, is D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. And so it's all a D chord. It's all the notes of a D chord, just like if we were just to play a D chord. It's all of these notes, except it's all open. And so you can think Duane Allman, Ry Cooder, those kind of guys played with open D. We also have open G tuning, which is D, G, D, G, B, D. And so Bonnie Raitt is known to use this one, as is Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, Derek Trucks from Allman Brothers lineage. We have open E, which is E, B, E, G sharp, B, E. And the last one that we'll talk about here is the open C tuning. And this is John Fahey, Nick Drake used this one. And what's great about this is that it uses this low C. Really rich low note on the guitar, so bassy and throaty. It's like a cello sound. So this is C, G, C, G, C, E. So these are a whole bunch of open tunings, and they're used by different folks in different ways. And just because these are the most common ones doesn't mean that you can't just tweak your tuning keys and find something that you like. That's what Joni Mitchell did. She would just come up with something, she would figure out some chords to it, and she would write a song. And she remembered all these tunings just by ear. Amazing, amazing ear. And so you can do this if you would like to. You can play around with it, or you can just notice when you're listening to music, does it sound like the standard chords, which are in standard tuning, or does it sound different? And if it is different, perhaps it's in a different tuning. Well, I hope this helps you in your guitar string knowledge. If you would like to download a book of 30 fun pieces, then you can find the link for that below, and I'll send it right over to you. Good luck in all of your playing, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.